The planet Zerathor was known throughout the galaxy as the home of one of the fiercest and most respected warrior races. Their warriors were unmatched in battle, their honor unbroken, and their strength legendary. Among them was Zara, a young warrior who had risen quickly through the ranks, earning the respect of her peers and the fear of her enemies. She was strong, skilled, and ruthless when necessary. But most importantly, she believed in the honor of her people. Loyalty was everything, but loyalty can be a dangerous thing. Zara's downfall was written in the stars. It was the day she trusted the wrong people. It was the day that everything changed. Zara stood on the command deck of her starship, staring out at the swirling mass of stars in the distance. She had just received orders from the High Council of Zerathor, the ruling body of her people. They were sending her on a mission she had waited for her entire life. The enemy fleet, a powerful alliance of alien species, had been advancing towards their borders, and Zara had been chosen to lead the charge against them. Her ship, the Vehemence, was the finest in the fleet, and she was proud to serve. But Zara had no way of knowing that this mission would not be like the others. This mission would end in betrayal. As she walked through the hallways of her ship, the voices of her crew filled the air, their respectful murmurs offering her praise for the mission ahead. Her heart swelled with pride, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. It was a feeling she had never experienced before. Something in the air felt ... off, and she wasn't wrong. When the call came to leave Zerathor's orbit, Zara and her crew departed, with their weapons ready and their resolve strong. The stars ahead seemed endless, and their mission was clear: defeat the enemy fleet and secure Zerathor's future. However, as they neared the outer edge of their galaxy, the unexpected happened. Zara's ship, deep in enemy space, was struck by a surprise attack. Blinding flashes of light filled the bridge as the ship rocked under the barrage of enemy fire. Zara quickly jumped into action, ordering her crew to engage evasive maneuvers. But it wasn't the enemy that was the true threat. It was her own people, without warning. The high-ranking officers under Zara's command began to turn on her. It was a coordinated attack plan that had been set in motion long before Zara had boarded her ship. Her own crew, the ones she had led into battle for years, were betraying her. The betrayal stung more than any wound. Zara watched, helpless, as her trusted officers aimed their weapons at her. "Zara, you have been too powerful." The voice of General Kaver, the highest-ranking officer of the fleet, echoed in her ears. "Your influence has become a threat to the Empire. The High Council has spoken. You are no longer fit to lead." Zara's heart sank. Betrayed by her own people, the ones she had fought for, the ones she had trusted with her life. She tried to fight back, drawing her blade in a flash of rage, but her strength wasn't enough. In moments, she was overwhelmed, her hands tied, her weapon taken. General Kaver's cold eyes met hers as he stepped forward. "Take her to the escape pod," he ordered. "Let her die out there." With that, Zara was dragged from the command deck and thrown into an escape pod. Her body, bruised and battered, slumped against the cold metal walls. Her mind raced. How could this have happened? Why had her people turned on her? She was one of them. She had given everything for Zerathor. The pod was launched into deep space, carrying her away from the wreckage of her ship. She knew it was only a matter of time before the rest of the fleet caught up with her. They would hunt her down like an animal. And for what? Because she was too strong? Because she had shown the galaxy that Zerathor could not be defeated? She didn't have time to think. As the escape pod hurtled through space, Zara's strength began to fade. The injuries from the betrayal had drained her energy. She fought to stay conscious, but it was no use. Her eyes fluttered shut, and the last thing she heard was the cold, mechanical hum of the pod's engines as it drifted into the void. Zara awoke to a strange feeling, pain. It was the first thing she felt as she slowly came to, her body aching from the wounds she had sustained. But it wasn't just pain she felt. There was warmth. She could hear the sound of soft voices, unfamiliar voices. But they were not the voices of her people. She blinked, trying to focus. The pod's hatch was open, and she found herself lying on a surface she didn't recognize. The walls of the small room were unlike any she had seen before, smooth, metallic, and ... human. The unmistakable signs of a human vessel. A human had found her. Before she could move, a voice broke through her thoughts. A deep, calm voice. "You're awake. Don't try to move. You've been hurt badly." Zara's eyes shot open, and she looked up to see a tall, broad-shouldered man standing over her. He was human, there was no mistaking that. His uniform was different from anything Zara had seen before, but it was clear from the way he moved and spoke that he was a soldier, a warrior just like her. Her first instinct was to reach for her weapon, but the pain was too much. She could barely lift her arms. "You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you." His voice was reassuring, but Zara wasn't sure if she could trust him. She had trusted her own people and had been betrayed. Why would a human be any different? Despite her reservations, Zara did not attempt to attack. She was too weak to do so, and this man, this stranger, had saved her from certain death. For now, that was enough. The man, Captain Marcus Hayes, as she later learned, was a soldier from Earth. He had been on a routine mission in the sector when he had picked up the distress signal from her escape pod. He had no idea what kind of alien he was rescuing. But he did know one thing: she needed help. "You're lucky I found you when I did," Marcus said, his voice filled with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "That was a hell of a crash landing. But you're safe now. I'll make sure you're taken care of." Zara studied him carefully. He was no enemy. She could see it in his eyes, the same honesty and determination she had seen in warriors she respected. But there was something else there, something she had not expected. Compassion. Zara wanted to speak, to demand answers, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she simply nodded, though doubt still lingered in her heart. She had been betrayed once before. Was this human really someone she could trust? As Zara lay there, recovering from the wounds of both her betrayal and the crash, a new question began to form in her mind. Who was she now, if not a warrior? Would she still fight for the empire that had abandoned her? Or would she fight for something else? The answers were not clear yet, but one thing was certain. Zara's journey was far from over. Zara's wounds were slowly healing, but her mind was far from at peace. She had been saved by a human, a soldier, who had rescued her from certain death. His name was Captain Marcus Hayes, a tall man with a calm demeanor and eyes that had seen many battles. But Zara wasn't sure what to think of him. She had been betrayed by her own people, the ones she trusted the most, and now here she was, relying on a complete stranger to survive. She lay on a bed in the small medical bay aboard the ship. The walls around her were a dull gray, the machinery around her unfamiliar but functional. There was a soft hum, the sound of the ship's engines, but otherwise the ship was quiet. The quiet gave Zara time to think, and that was dangerous. Her thoughts swirled in her head like a storm, but there was one question that kept coming back to her. Why did this human save her? From what Zara knew, humans were not warriors like the people of Zarathor. They were small, fragile, and had only recently begun exploring the stars. But Marcus was different from what she had expected. He wasn't fragile at all. He had fought with a calm determination when he found her, not a hint of fear in his eyes. There was something about him that felt ... right. But why? The door to the medical bay opened, and Marcus stepped inside, holding a small tray with food and water. His face softened when he saw her awake. "How are you feeling?" he asked, placing the tray on the small table beside her. His voice was kind, and Zara noticed that he had a warmth to him that contrasted with the coldness she had come to expect from most soldiers. Zara didn't answer immediately. She was still trying to make sense of everything. Her own people had betrayed her. They had abandoned her, left her to die alone in the cold emptiness of space. But Marcus had come to her rescue. Why? "You've been through a lot, but you're safe now," Marcus continued, as though sensing the questions running through her mind. "I'm not sure how long we'll be out here, but I'll make sure you're okay." Zara studied him for a long moment. She didn't trust easily, not anymore. But there was something about his words, his tone, that made her hesitate. Was he telling the truth? Could she trust him? "Why did you save me?" she asked, her voice raspy from the injuries and the long silence. Marcus looked at her. and for a moment, he didn't answer. He seemed to consider her question carefully, as if weighing the right words. "You were in danger," he finally said. "I couldn't just leave you to die. I don't know what's going on with your people, but you didn't deserve that." Zara's eyes narrowed slightly. Her people. They had been her family, her comrades. She had trusted them with her life, fought beside them in countless battles. To be betrayed by them, to be left for dead, was a wound deeper than any blade could inflict. And now, here she was, alone, on a human ship, with a man who claimed to care about her. But why? Zara repeated, the confusion in her voice growing. "I'm not one of your kind. Why would you risk your life for me?" Marcus paused, his eyes softening as he looked at her. "I don't think it matters that you're not human. We're all just trying to survive out here, right? We all have our reasons. And you're more than just an enemy or a stranger to me. You're someone who deserves a chance to live." Zara was silent for a moment, taking in his words. It wasn't what she had expected him to say. Humans weren't known for their compassion, at least not in the way that the warriors of Zarathor were. But Marcus's words felt genuine. Could it be that he truly cared? For the first time in a long while, Zara felt a flicker of hope. Maybe not all humans were weak. Maybe there was more to them than she had been taught. Marcus leaned against the wall, watching her closely as she processed his words. He could see that Zara was struggling with something, but he didn't push her. He knew that trust couldn't be forced. It had to be earned. "I'll leave you to rest, but if you need anything, just let me know," he said, turning to leave. But then he hesitated, his gaze shifting to her, with a hint of something unspoken. "You're not alone anymore." The door slid shut behind him, leaving Zara alone with her thoughts once more. Not alone anymore. She thought about those words for a long time. Could it be possible that she was truly not alone anymore? For years she had fought for the honor of her people, believing that they were the only ones worth fighting for. But now, she found herself questioning everything she had ever known. What did loyalty mean if the ones you trusted betrayed you? As the days passed, Zara slowly recovered. Her physical wounds healed faster than her emotional ones, but she could feel herself changing. Marcus was patient with her, checking on her every day and offering small gestures of kindness. At first, Zara resisted. She wasn't used to relying on anyone but herself. But over time, she began to see that Marcus wasn't asking anything in return. He wasn't trying to gain anything from her. He was just ... helping one day. As Zara sat in the small lounge area of the ship, trying to regain some strength, Marcus approached with a datapad in his hands. "I've been thinking," Marcus said, sitting down beside her. "I know you've been through a lot, but I think you should tell me more about your people. About who you are. I want to understand." Zara looked at him, surprised by the question. She wasn't sure she was ready to open up, but something in her shifted. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. "My people ... She began slowly, her voice softer than usual. "They were once noble, strong. We were the protectors of our galaxy. But somewhere along the way, we lost our way. We became obsessed with power and control. And when I started questioning it, when I started speaking out, they turned on me." Marcus listened quietly, his expression serious but compassionate. He didn't interrupt. He just let her speak. "I fought for them for so long, believing in their cause. But now I don't know what to believe anymore," Zara finished, her voice almost breaking. Marcus nodded. "You're not the only one who's been betrayed, Zara. But you're not alone now. You have me, and you have the chance to make things right." Zara looked at him, the weight of his words settling in. For the first time, she felt like she had someone she could trust. Maybe humans weren't so different after all. As the days turned into weeks, Zara and Marcus became an unlikely team. They worked together to repair the ship, to gather information, and to plan their next move. Zara learned more about the human way of life, their values, their struggles, their victories. And Marcus learned more about Zara's people, about their history and their warriors. They were both outcasts in their own ways, but together they made a powerful team. In a universe full of betrayal, they had found something real: trust, loyalty, and the beginning of something more. Zara stood at the window of the ship, gazing out into the endless void of space. The stars seemed so distant, so unreachable. Her thoughts were lost in the darkness, consumed by the betrayal of her people. She had once believed that her strength, her loyalty, her unwavering belief in her empire would lead to greatness. But all of that had crumbled the day she was cast aside. Now she was an outcast. The soft sound of footsteps behind her broke her concentration. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. "You're thinking about them again, aren't you?" Marcus's voice was calm, a steady presence in the chaos of her thoughts. Zara nodded, though she didn't speak at first. The pain of being betrayed still lingered deep within her. Her people had betrayed her, and now there was no going back. She had no home to return to, no place in the world she had once known. But Marcus wasn't one to let silence linger for long. "You don't have to face this alone, Zara." His voice was soft, but there was a steel-like determination in it. "I'm with you. You've got me, and we've got a plan." Zara turned to look at him. Her human ally, the man who had saved her. There was no denying that Marcus had become more than just a savior. He had become a friend, maybe even something more. Still, she couldn't bring herself to share her full trust. Her heart was still guarded. What if he betrayed her too? "I know, Marcus," Zara said, her voice steady, despite the turmoil inside. "But you don't understand. My people, they will not stop until I'm dead." Marcus's face darkened. "I don't care what they do. If they come after you, we'll fight them. We've already taken on so much together. We're not backing down now." Zara could see the resolve in his eyes. He meant it. She didn't know how or why, but he was willing to stand beside her, even if it meant facing the very empire that had turned on her. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of something warm, something that reminded her of the loyalty she had once felt for her own kind. But her thoughts were cut short when the ship's sensors suddenly went off. The familiar, shrill sound of an incoming alert echoed through the command deck. "We've got a problem," Zara Marcus said, his voice all business now. He hurried over to the console, scanning the data. "A fleet is on its way." "It's them." Zara's heart skipped a beat. The High Council? The fleet from her homeworld coming to finish what they had started. She had known this moment would come, but now that it was here, the weight of it was crushing. "How long until they get here?" Zara asked, her voice betraying the fear she tried to hide. "Not long." Marcus didn't look up from the screen. "They're already entering the outer rim of the system. We have to make a decision now." Zara didn't need to think. There was only one option. She had to stop them before they reached her. "Get us moving. We can't let them catch us." She turned to him, her voice hardening. "I'm not running anymore. It's time to face them." Marcus met her gaze. For a moment, they just stood there, locked in a silent understanding. This was their fight now, and there was no turning back. The ship rumbled as the engines roared to life. The Vehemence, despite its age, was a powerful vessel, fast and maneuverable. Marcus had made some modifications to it, turning it into a more formidable fighter. But it would still take everything they had to survive what was coming. Zara and Marcus worked in tandem, preparing the ship for battle. Zara didn't need to ask Marcus to do the hard tasks. She knew he would handle whatever needed to be done. But she also knew that this was her fight, her people. Her legacy, as the ship's weapons systems powered up, Marcus gave her a brief nod. "We've got about 10 minutes before they arrive." "It's now or never." Zara stood tall. Her alien blood pulsed with determination. But there was something else too, fire. A sense of purpose she had not felt in a long time. "Let's do this." She spoke softly. But with authority, the two of them worked together, setting up evasive maneuvers, locking weapons in place and activating the shields. Zara was on edge, her thoughts racing. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every single life the Empire had oppressed, every being that had been crushed under its weight. This was her chance to bring the Empire to its knees. The battle began when the fleet arrived. Zara and Marcus quickly realized they were facing a massive armada. There were too many ships for them to take on directly. But Zara wasn't afraid of numbers. She had faced overwhelming odds before, and she had never backed down. "We'll take out their lead ship first," Zara said, her voice steady, though her mind was focused on the task at hand. If we can disable their command ship, it will throw their entire fleet into chaos. Marcus nodded. Got it. With a sudden burst of speed, the Vehement shot forward, weaving in and out of enemy fire. Zara's hands gripped the controls with practiced ease, guiding the ship as it dodged laser blasts and enemy ships. Marcus fired the weapons, expertly targeting the enemy ship's weak spots, while Zara steered them away from danger. Despite their training and their skills, the battle was intense. The enemy ships were formidable, but they weren't prepared for the speed and precision of Zara and Marcus. The Vehemence zipped through the chaos, weaving between explosions and laser fire, hitting key targets with devastating precision. The enemy fleet tried to retaliate, but they couldn't keep up with the agility of Zara's ship. We're almost there, Marcus shouted, his hands flying over the controls. Zara's eyes were fixed on the lead ship, the massive warship that served as the heart of the fleet. If they could destroy it, entire armada would fall apart. She gritted her teeth and pushed the Vehemence to its limits, diving toward the lead ship with incredible speed. With a loud crash, their ship slammed into the shield of the warship, the impact shaking the entire vessel. Zara barely flinched. Now, she yelled, and Marcus fired the ship's strongest weapons straight into the heart of the enemy ship. The explosion was deafening. The lead ship crumbled under the attack, and the entire fleet fell into chaos. The remaining ships hesitated, unsure of what to do without their command structure. Zara and Marcus wasted no time, taking advantage of the confusion to disable their enemies one by one, as the battle began to wind down. Zara couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. They had done it. They had won. The Empire's fleet had been broken, their command ship destroyed, and their forces scattered. For the first time in a long while, Zara felt like she had regained control over her own fate. Marcus looked at her, a small smile on his face. We did it, Zara smiled back. But it wasn't just a smile of victory. It was a smile of something more, something she had long thought was lost. Hope double quotes. Yes, we did, she replied. And this is just the beginning. The aftermath of the battle felt both victorious and haunting. The ships that had once filled the skies with fire and chaos now floated in silence. The debris from the destroyed warships drifted in the vastness of space like broken pieces of a shattered empire. Zara and Marcus had won. But Zara knew this victory wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. As they sailed through the wreckage, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that this would only be the first of many battles. Her people would not let her go so easily. The High Council would never allow one of their own to live in defiance. They would send more ships, more warriors, more hunters to track her down. Zara's mind was racing as she sat in the cockpit of the Vehemence, staring out at the endless expanse of space. The stars had always brought her comfort, but now only reminded her of the vastness of the war she was facing. Marcus entered the cockpit, his steps light but purposeful. He had been working on the ship's systems, making adjustments to prepare for the next phase of their journey. His presence was a steady comfort to Zara, though the weight of the situation was clear in his face. "How are you holding up?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. Zara didn't look at him right away. She had always been strong, had always prided herself on her ability to withstand pain, loss, and betrayal. But now, she wasn't sure if strength was enough. What if they came again? What if she was forced to face her people in an even greater battle? "I'm fine, Marcus," she said it with confidence, but deep inside, she wasn't sure. Fine was far from how she felt. But she didn't want to burden him with her doubts. Marcus paused for a moment, then sat next to her. "I'm not going to pretend to understand everything you've been through, Zara, but I do know this. You're not alone. You've got me." Zara turned to him, surprised by the sincerity in his words. The truth of what Marcus said felt like a lifeline. For so long, she had been alone, trapped in the cold and distant corridors of loyalty, betrayal, and survival. But here, with Marcus beside her, it felt different. Maybe she could fight for something more. "Thank you, Marcus," she finally whispered, her voice steady but filled with gratitude. He smiled, but the smile didn't last long. "We still have a fight ahead of us." "Your people won't stop coming, Zara," You know that. Zara nodded. She had always known it. The empire she had once served had grown too powerful and too cruel. They wouldn't let her live freely. She had no choice but to continue the fight. The ship was in motion again, and Zara's thoughts shifted back to their next move. They needed to find a way to stay ahead of the High Council's fleet, which was surely regrouping and preparing another offensive. Zara was well aware of the Empire's ruthless tactics, and she knew they would not hesitate to send every resource they had after her. But there was something they didn't know. Zara had once been one of their best strategists. She knew their tactics, she knew how they thought, and she knew their weaknesses. Marcus, we need to find a way to hit them where it hurts. Zara's voice was firm, her eyes narrowing as she began to focus on the future. Marcus raised an eyebrow. What do you have in mind? The High Council has a secret weapon. A ship hidden away in their home system. It's their last line of defense. If we can destroy that ship, they'll be forced to retreat. It'll cripple their entire fleet. Zara's mind raced as she explained her plan. It's our only chance to level the playing field. If we don't strike first, they'll overwhelm us. Marcus listened carefully, weighing her words. And how do we find this secret weapon? Zara paused, considering the question. Finding that ship wouldn't be easy. It was hidden deep within the homeworld's defense systems, protected by layers of advanced technology. But Zara had a plan, one that relied on her knowledge of the Empire's secrets. I know where it is, Zara said quietly. I've seen the schematics. I helped design part of their defense systems. I know how to bypass their security and get us inside. Marcus was silent for a moment, his expression unreadable. He trusted her, but this was dangerous. They were talking about infiltrating the very heart of Zara's empire. If they failed, they would not just lose the battle, they would be dead. But Marcus didn't hesitate. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we'll do it. Together. Zara looked at him, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Not just for herself, but for the future. For a chance to fight for something better. The next few days were filled with preparation. Zara and Marcus worked tirelessly to gather the necessary information, break through the Empire's security, and prepare the Vehements for the most dangerous mission they had ever attempted. They knew that if they were going to succeed, they had to move quickly and precisely. One mistake could cost them everything. Zara's thoughts were a whirlwind as she worked. She had once been a proud member of the Empire. Now she was planning its destruction. She didn't know how she felt about that. Part of her still longed for the honor, the camaraderie, the power that came with being part of something great. But the truth was, the Empire had fallen from grace. It was no longer the noble force she had believed it to be. It was corrupt, oppressive, cruel. As the Vehements neared the coordinates Zara had entered into the navigation system, her heart began to race. She knew what was at stake. This mission wasn't just about survival, it was about giving the galaxy a chance to break free from the Empire's chokehold. It was about showing her people that there was a different way to fight, a better way. Ready? Marcus's voice broke through her thoughts. He was at the helm, his hands steady on the controls. Zara took a deep breath. Ready? Let's do this. The ship descended into the heart of the enemy system, passing through asteroid fields and avoiding detection as they got closer and closer to their target. Zara's pulse quickened with every passing moment. They were about to do the impossible. They were about to take on the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and they were going to win. The final stretch was the most dangerous. Zara and Marcus knew they had to disable the Empire's defenses before they could launch an attack on the secret weapon. Every move had to be perfect. One slip-up, and they would be caught in the Empire's deadly grip. Almost there, Marcus muttered. His eyes locked on the coordinates. Just a little longer, Zara replied, her heart pounding in her chest. They were in position now. All that remained was to strike. With a deep breath, Zara gave the signal. Now, Marcus punched the controls, and the Vehements shot forward, breaking through the last line of defense with a burst of speed. Zara was already calculating the trajectory, locking onto the secret weapon's location. Fire, Zara commanded. The the ship's cannons erupted, sending a powerful blast toward the enemy's hidden weapon. The explosion was deafening, shaking the entire ship as the target was destroyed in a brilliant burst of light. The explosion lit up the blackness of space like a star being born, bright and powerful. Zara and Marcus watched in silence as the shockwave rippled through the enemy fleet. The secret weapon of the High Council, the most powerful ship in their arsenal, was now a shattered wreck floating in space. The battle that had raged for so long was finally coming to an end. But Zara didn't feel the rush of victory she had expected. Instead, a quiet weight settled over her. The galaxy was not free yet. The Empire was still vast, and their hold on countless worlds remained. But for the first time in a long time, Zara felt something else stirring inside her, a sense of purpose. She could change things, we did it, Zara. Marcus's voice broke through her thoughts. He was standing at the console, a look of satisfaction on his face. Zara looked at him, the emotions swirling inside her. The victory was only part of the battle. There was still so much left to do. They had defeated the weapon, but the war was far from over. We've taken down their strongest weapon. Marcus, Zara replied, her voice steady but reflective. But there are still many more battles ahead. Marcus turned to her, his expression serious but filled with trust. Then we'll keep fighting, together. He walked over to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. We've come this far. We can't stop now. Zara took a deep breath. The man beside her had become more than just an ally. He had become her closest friend, a partner in a cause far bigger than either of them had ever imagined. They were no longer just two individuals together. They had become a force that could change the future. For a long moment, they simply stood there, both lost in their thoughts. Zara thought about the countless people who had been oppressed by the High Council, the lives that had been destroyed by the Empire's cruelty. She thought about her own people, her own past, and what she had once believed was the right path. But now, she had a new purpose. We need to get the message out, Marcus, Zara said after a while. The galaxy needs to know what's happened. They need to know that the Empire isn't invincible. If we stay silent, nothing will change. I've been thinking the same thing. He turned to the communications console and began typing quickly. I've got access to a network of ships. I can send out a message to the farthest corners of the galaxy, tell everyone what happened, what we've done. We need to rally the people who are still under the Empire's thumb. Zara watched him work. She could see the determination in his eyes. He had come a long way from the man who had saved her on that distant planet. Now he was a leader in his own right, and together it would inspire others to join their cause. The message was sent out, broadcasting to every corner of the galaxy. Zara's heart raced as the words traveled faster than light. They were telling the galaxy the truth. They were showing everyone that resistance was possible, that a new world was waiting to be born. As the days passed, the effects of the broadcast began to take shape. News of the destruction of the High Council's most powerful weapon spread quickly. Word of Zara's survival, her betrayal by her own people, and her fight to change the Empire reached planets far and wide. The people began to listen, from the outer rim to the core systems. Groups of rebels, dissidents, and oppressed people started to rise up, inspired by the message Zara and Marcus had sent. They didn't have the resources or the strength of the Empire, but they had something far more powerful: hope. Zara and Marcus continued to travel through the galaxy, rallying supporters and spreading the message of freedom. Their ship, the Vehemence, became a symbol of resistance. Wherever they went, they met with others who had been waiting for someone to stand up, show them that they weren't alone. But Zara knew that there would be hard days ahead. The Empire wouldn't just let go of its power. They would fight back with everything they had. And so would she. One day, as they sat together in the ship's lounge, looking out at the stars, Zara turned to Marcus. What happens now? She asked, her voice quieter than usual. We've taken down one weapon, but the Empire is still out there. There are still planets being controlled, people suffering. What can we really do? Marcus looked at her, a calm smile spreading across his face. We keep fighting, Zara. He placed his hand on hers, his touch gentle but firm. we build a better future. It won't happen overnight, but together, we'll make sure it happens. Zara nodded slowly, her heart swelling with a feeling she hadn't known she was capable of in so long. Hope. The galaxy was vast, but it wasn't just ruled by the Empire anymore. There were other forces, now forces that wanted change, that wanted freedom. And together, she and Marcus would lead them to victory. Months passed, and the resistance grew stronger. As the message of rebellion spread, more ships joined their cause, and more planets rallied behind them. Zara found herself leading battles, coordinating with other factions, and planning the final strikes against the Empire. Every victory, no matter how small, fueled their momentum. But through it all, she never forgot the people she was fighting for. The faces of the oppressed, the soldiers she had once commanded, the families who lived under the Empire's harsh rule, they were her reason for fighting. One day, after a particularly difficult battle, Marcus came to her with new information. "Zara, I've got something." He handed her a datapad, his face serious. "The High Council is making their final move. They've regrouped and are preparing for one last strike. If we don't stop them now, they'll crush everything we've built." Zara's heart skipped a beat. She knew this moment was coming. The Empire wasn't just going to fold quietly. They would fight until the very end. "We're ready for them, Marcus." Zara's voice was cold with determination. She had fought too long, lost too much, to back down now. "We end this now. We take them down, once and for all."
Ow.
Marcus nodded. He knew there was no turning back. Together, they had built something greater than themselves. And now, they were going to finish what they had started. The final battle was fierce. The Vehemence led the charge, with fleets of resistance fighters at their side. Zara and Marcus coordinated every move, using everything they had learned to outmaneuver the Empire's forces. The fight was brutal, but the people fought with everything they had. The Empire's once unstoppable forces were finally crumbling under the weight of the resistance. In the end, it was Zara who stood on the front lines leading the final charge against the High Council's headquarters. The battle was long, but it was decisive. The council was dismantled, and the Empire's reign came to an end. Zara stood on the steps of the council's shattered building, her heart pounding with victory. The galaxy had been freed. They had done it. Marcus stood beside her, a quiet smile on his face. "It's over, Zara," she nodded, feeling the weight of what they had accomplished. The galaxy had changed, and with Marcus by her side, she knew this was just the beginning of a new Erewhon, built on hope, freedom, and the courage to fight for what was right. Together, Marcus. Zara's voice was soft but filled with determination. "Together, we'll rebuild." And with that, they stepped forward into the future of future they would shape, side by side.